be a wild card. And I asked myself, how wild could this series get? At least in my heart, pretty freaking wild. We are, however, loaded in to Romanticide to start off our third best of 5 of the day. Like I said, you're watching the Intel Extreme Masters, and in the bottom right position, spawning as the blue Protoss player, we have PartinG.
And of course, way in the top left-hand side of Romanticide, our red Terran player from Kaizi Gaming. It is INnoVation. I do not know what to expect out of this series, Nate, in a way, just because of what PartinG showed up with yesterday, going into that super long game against Cure. Kind of had me question marking a little bit as to what the heck was going on. You know, I had to cast that game being thrown on it at the end of the series. We didn't get to catch the first 2 maps, but boy, did he make his life more difficult than it needed to be. He needs to have a much more serious approach, I think, if he wants to take down INnoVation.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about PartinG and following him is the way that he plays and his kind of nonchalant attitude, so to speak, especially if you see his stream, which is a whole, that's a whole nother can of worms. I'm not even sure I'm allowed to open as INnoVation's SCV heads that northeast corner. But PartinG is someone who continues to make his way deep into these tournaments, despite being a popular streamer, despite doing a lot of stuff and kind of being somewhat of a known quantity. People know he's a wild card, but he does have that X factor tenacity. He's a tough guy to bring down, and he will use strategies that are meant to punish you for doing stuff that's normal, for assuming that you think you know what he's gonna do. And that's why every time a PartinG game starts, I'm always excited, because you really can have just about anything happen. So we've got a proxy gate, we've got a proxy factory. Wardy, what is going on?
This series, again, a little bit wild. Love the scout from INnoVation, at least. That should tell him there's a pylon missing in the main base. I don't think that tells you necessarily there's a gateway down on the map, because that's not what I was expecting at all. PartinG's just going to pile on the gateway pressure, and you know what? INnoVation's got, what, a single Rax, no reactor on it, because he's proxied up that factory. The starport's going down across the map. I love this for PartinG. Through and through, I think everything about this is in PartinG's favor, because I don't see what INnoVation can do defensively to hold off these units. So it was very similar to a QS stats game that we had, where it should just get to a point where PartinG has too many units. INnoVation can't really hold that off. And even if INnoVation kills like a ton of workers across the map, the army of PartinG that will still be left standing should hold on, because you can't build a siege tank defensively or anything along those lines. Yeah, I love the setup for PartinG to start the series off.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think one of the reasons why when Terrans go for expansion type builds, you see that bunker come up really fast if there's no ramp leading into the natural, because that pressure that the Protoss can put on is really terrifying. Getting caught at this ramp by 5 adepts, those Marines, they are super dead, and there is nothing to cover for them. Like you were saying, there's no Hellions to bring the backup or the support. There's no medevac to try to heal these units. So the adepts come up. Marines are going to immediately start to die. The tech lab gets canceled. So the adepts could have just shaded in. He wants to take care of the Marines, though. I think realizing they may be a future part of this. Some of the they're going to split back now. But I was going to say, he could probably kill the constructing reactor, or the tech lab, excuse me, goes for the tech lab because it builds faster and thus gains HP faster. But this is a disastrous situation. Now let's see if the Hellions can even the score.
Yeah, they are obviously going to get a lot of damage done. There's nothing at home from PartinG until he gets some reinforcements warped in. Stalkers start to warp in now. 12 probes have already gone down, though, Nate, and this is just the start for these Hellions. And we do have the units, though, in the main base. Now, INnoVation will lose these SCVs, and this is what I'm talking about. At the end of the day, who has more army supply to end this game? Absolutely PartinG through and through. He'll lose one Stalker here, but then that Widowmine is a goner. And so what if you're down on workers right now? At the end of the day, you are going to kill absolutely everything here, and PartinG will win this game number 1. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think this is just a big build order victory from PartinG to start the series. But hey, it works really well in a meta where these Terrans love to proxy. They love to try and get damage done early. These kind of builds are really, really good.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I think one of the other important things to keep in mind, if you were going for a more typical Terran versus Protoss opener, right? Assume INnoVation wants to do a Reaper expand or something like that into a 1-1-1 setup. If you still skip the bunker with that, and a Protoss does a build like this is one of those things PartinG can kind of be known for. That 2 gateway early pressure has won many a Protoss a game against any sort of level of greed, whether it's going for the proxy factory and proxy starport, or it's that, oh, I'm going to take this quick expand without a bunker. If you don't have a bunker at the front against a double gateway pressure like that, you are going to have a really, really rough time.
Yeah, no, there's just nothing you can do. I don't think there's any adjustment, innovation you can really make. It just comes down to how, because why would he build a bunker? He's essentially on one base or delayed expansion, right?
Exactly.
It just doesn't make sense. The fact he's constantly producing Marines would keep him safe if it was just the typical first Adept or first Stalker moving across the map for poke. But when 5 Adepts show up all at once, it goes wrong from there. What a fantastic way for PartinG to take the lead in the series, because now INnoVation is going to be so put off from doing anything a little bit off from normal. Because if you do anything off from normal now, what if PartinG does something like this again and you just die? 5-minute game, PartinG doesn't even really have to reveal too much. He doesn't get tested in many ways. Yeah, I don't think INnoVation can really kind of take risks anymore.
I couldn't, and that's another thing as well that as I was bringing up about Maru in the previous series, is there's this element of pressure that comes out, right? You might try to say on paper, someone would be like, yeah, well, INnoVation's obviously better mechanically, but there's a lot of pressure that you're going to feel, and not taking that into account is exactly why INnoVation starts this series down a map. So I'm very excited to see what happens now as we continue to move forward, because there's really no telling what this guy is going to do. In the bottom left, we are loaded into Gigantha for game number 2. In the blue, he's PartinG.
That means that in the upper right-hand side, in the red, we've got our boy, INnoVation.
I love those super cool zooms that we have for the players on the intros and stuff. That's I think it's my favorite part about this tournament is just the amount of stuff that we've worked in, that the tech guys, everybody's pulled together to kind of give that feeling for the weight of this moment, right? Because it is a big deal, because everything is on the line for these players, and these are 2 champions. No matter what way you want to spin it, whether you think they can beat Dark, whether you think they can beat Raynor or Serral or whatever, blah, 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 these are guys who have taken it all the way before. They know what it's like to lift that championship trophy. They are 2 of the best historically in StarCraft history. They are fan favorites, known and beloved by many, but it is a brutal statement to the difficulty and the competitiveness of StarCraft that they must face off this early in the tournament, right? So to speak, in the round of 12, INnoVation PartinG. I'll be honest with you, if you told me that was going to be a tournament final, I would have said, sign me up. Hell yeah. I'll get the 6-pack. Let's go. That sounds like a fantastic way. That sounds like a great way to spend my Sunday, Wardy. I am not going to lie to you. That sounds like a hell of a championship to me.
And yet it's only Friday, One of these guys going to get the weekend off. Not in the way they want it off, but...
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. Hey, this build from INnoVation again. I said he might be put off from doing things a little bit weird. Absolutely not. Double gas into the factory. I like it in a way though, right? Because now you're kind of playing a build where PartinG still can't get good scout information. He's still playing a little bit blind, and you got to remember as well, while INnoVation's attack didn't work, it's still that threat of what he did in the last game. What if this is a proxied factory? What does PartinG have to tell him that it's not? Absolutely nothing. So in a way, I like that way of kind of playing from INnoVation, but PartinG just doesn't scout, so it doesn't really matter. The one probe that's across the map looks like it might be looking to sit on the left-hand side. Okay, it's moving forward now. When he sees the lack of a Nexus, lack of a command center, I'd be really gosh darned worried. It's not even a probe, sorry. That's a Zealot that walked across the map. Well, he's going to be unhappy that the Zealot's across the map and walking into a wall off.
Yeah, this is one of those moves that some Protoss players will do, but I think the early scout, and I do believe INnoVation sent an early scout out in this game, saw that gateway was up towards the front of the base for PartinG, which usually means, hey, I'm going to try to chrono out a Zealot with maybe a proxy second gateway and put that pressure on. You don't usually see the Zealot off of just the one gate all the time. The idea is, of course, if they're going for a Reaper expand, you want to dodge the Reaper, get a couple kills, but if you can't hide it, then it's usually not as effective. But it's still kind of that you have to have in the back of your mind. Okay, well, this is an economic opening from PartinG at the end of the day. It's not. He hasn't committed to something crazy and saying he didn't skip his expansion or anything like that. He just delayed it a little bit to say, INnoVation, if you're being greedy, I'm just going to kill you. And that's not the case. Reaper gets surrounded by the probes and killed, but 2 pickoffs. I don't think that's anything to be upset about.
Plus the 3 from earlier, right? So now you've killed 5 probes or so this game. It's a fantastic Reaper. Yes, INnoVation's got a later CC, but that also means that he's got a Widowmine drop hitting a little bit sooner than usual. So early game this time around has been all about INnoVation, and we'll see what these Widowmines can get done. PartinG not exactly set up the best to shut down Widowmines, right? It's not like Blink is anywhere near. He doesn't really have the unit count to just straight up kill them right away. So yeah, definitely potential for Inno here. He shouldn't have to lose the medevac as well, which is always nice to keep alive. And I love that he's going into the Raven, right? It's a Twilight opener. You're playing PartinG. Please just make the Raven. Let's not lose to DTs, because you know PartinG's going to use that at some point in this series.
Even just zoning away an observer, right? If he's going to try to do a blink move or something like that into your base, which is definitely not something we can ever take off the table for PartinG. He's got some nasty control, but that Raven is really nice. And I actually wanted to say just about the opener in general, you still have this mine drop that comes. This isn't the kill all of the probes mine drop, but the way that INnoVation actually started this game with the quick double gas, he pulled SCVs off of some of those geysers, at least for a little bit, to get that mineral count up so he could get this command center. And I've always liked the idea of these kind of TVT-esque flex openings against Protoss, because Protoss can kind of bring that pressure, especially guys like PartinG. When you do a build like that, it not only keeps you safe, but you still have the option for the aggression, and you don't have to delay your command center to the point of like, okay, that's it, I'm all in, or something like that. So a nice flex move by INnoVation, kind of going for an in-between setup with the fast factory for the mine drop, but not delaying the economy more than you would if you just committed straight up to, all right, I'm going to go for all the tech and keep mining full gas the whole time.
Yeah, and I love what he's been able to do here as well, right? The first time the Widowmine drop came in, he made sure to threaten the natural, then he actually forced the main base to pull, and in the end, he forced the natural to pull away as well. So that's a lot of lost mine time. He kept 2 Widowmines alive for later as well. It's all this little bit of, all these little bits of damage that are going to make his stim push, right, in the near future pretty darn scary to play against for PartinG, because his economy, 5 workers down, these mineral pulls, these are all going to add up and give INnoVation a real opening. I mean, look at the RoboBay on the way down now. What are we talking about? 1 Colossus, maybe the second one halfway done when INnoVation strikes? I wouldn't like to be PartinG in this position in the slightest.
No, and he made the investment into the 3rd base here as well. So you're looking to have a big defensive play to protect that 3rd Nexus, which will be finishing up. As you said, Stim's already done. We've got medevacs coming out, or excuse me, Stim is finishing as we speak. I don't believe we're at risk of it not finishing here. They did make it so you can't lift off buildings when the add-on is researching something, so I think we're safe on that one. Yeah, and then you have to wait for extended thermal lance to finish, because otherwise your Colossi are hardly useful once 2 or 3 Marauders are on the field, right?
Yep. No, absolutely. The extended thermal lance, like I say, maybe there will actually be more than 1 Colossus out, maybe there'll be 2, but extended thermal lance will still not quite be done. It depends if INnoVation wants to start moving out right now, or what the plan is. I remember, even if there are 2 Colossi, that Raven is still a thing. It moves down the right side now for some harassment, and he's actually going to take everything down the right side, and I don't think PartinG has he seen that? The Stalkers look as though they have seen it, because they moved that way. Maybe it's just Star Sense, because he sends 1 Stalker here to check, and it is going to find the drop. But yeah, if he does get across the map, INnoVation with that Raven, which will have 2 interference matrices, I mean, goodbye to the Colossus damage. Then you're going to have to buy more time with sentries, force fields, and whatever else possible. That's all time in which INnoVation is going to take position with those siege tanks.
I do think even as little of a delay as that was, though, we're getting very close to, you were talking about the 2nd Colossus and Thermal Lance. Let's not forget, though, there is a Raven on the field. So interference matrix is not off the table either. But I think, depending on which direction INnoVation tries to push them, and okay, it's going to be on the wider side. Obviously, the sentries could still kind of hold a ramp while the interference matrix goes off, but engaging this many Marines in the open field, it's a suicide mission.
Well, INnoVation just loads up almost like he wants to drop in the main. He's like, okay, move as though I'm going to do it. And he's like, I'm not actually going to do it. So, PartinG moves up there, but it's not like the tanks or anything else is moving further forward. So, there's not really much pressure here. Now he's going to go for it. The Colossi are out on their own nade. Why are they over here? No!
Oh, 2 Colossi just chilling outside, having a little break while the army went into the main. And the great debate of 2021, INnoVation gets all of the goodies. He gets all the presents. That Robo immediately has the Warp Prism killed as it spawns by those Widow Mines. The Robo itself being killed means there's no way to get that higher level tech. And here we get to see a little bit of that macro muscle get flexed by INnoVation, because he's got a tremendous amount of forces making this push at this time. That +1 is done, and that is a evened up best of 5, Wardy. Action-packed, all ready to start. A quick early strike in game 1 by PartinG, but now INnoVation on his first push, his first big move out of the game. I mean, he baits PartinG into moving his whole army into his main, except for his Colossi.
I love it as well, because it's like, I felt like the first bait didn't actually work, but then PartinG just still had the Colossi out there. This was always going to be a difficult defense with the way the early game played out, but to then make the mistake of leaving the Colossus on their own, INnoVation can jump on them. From that point, you're never going to defend, and we get tied up 1-1. Two very one-sided games, Nate, right? You know, PartinG strikes first in game 1, he wins the game with it. INnoVation, to me, was kind of winning the game with this early game pressure as well. The amount of damage he got done was always going to give him a good shot at winning with this push. And now we're 1-1. I do hope this series does develop into some longer games, though, right? Because I know these two can really go head-to-head in the longer games, in the late game, get a lot of bases up, watch PartinG fling gateway units to INnoVation hold on. I hope it's not just all going to be whoever takes that first strike and takes a lead from there is able to close it out.
I would definitely like to see a good slugfest of a match between these two. It does make sense to some degree, though, right? Terrans in this metagame feel a lot of push towards going for those big timings, right? On 2.5 bases, bringing that first wave of tanks, and especially with the Raven against the Colossus opener. I mean, this started to become textbook a year ago in StarCraft, maybe almost a year and a half ago. Is you bring the Ravens in, you get the interference matrix, shut the Colossi down. Except, of course, it's obviously easier when there's no support for the Colossus there. And INnoVation, towards the end of the series, is going to be thinking about, you know, having a bunker or something, having a faster reaction to that Adept attack, because that game actually could have ended up getting a bit weirder than it ended up as well. We are here, loaded into game number 3 on Lightshade in the northwest position, spawning as the blue Protoss player. We have PartinG.
And he is, of course, taking on the red Terran in the bottom right-hand side from Kai Z Gaming. It's INnoVation.
I gotta say, though, Wardy, I can't complain. I enjoy seeing, especially the non-Reaper expand openers. I feel like there's a good couple of builds that really put that pressure on them and make it feel awkward, make it feel uncomfortable. PartinG has tried in 2 games now to bring that early pressure in some shape or form. Of course, it was just kind of like running that Zealot across in game number 2. Not quite the same level, but he's not wanting to let INnoVation just do whatever and go on autopilot mode, which at this point of the tournament you can't really do against anybody, right? No one's shaking their hands over a no rush 15 match. So this is just one of those situations where neither of them are 100% sure how far they're going to tilt in that aggro direction. And even with the quick wall off in the main base, INnoVation just doesn't want to probe to even be able to go in there and scout.
Yep. No, it's it kind of just goes to show the sort of style that INnoVation wants to kind of bring to the table today, right? He wants to keep PartinG guessing. He wants to keep PartinG in the unknown. PartinG's not allowed to kind of figure out what's happening. And in a way, it also provides a little bit of safety as well, right? This ends up being a high ground expansion. PartinG doesn't know that, so he still has to react as though it might be some pressure. But it also keeps INnoVation safe in case PartinG does a typical proxy up a gateway sort of situation, which is exactly what's going to happen right now.
And this is exactly what I was talking about. This is literally the thing. This proxy second gateway build it can be a gut check because the Nexus is still there. It's not like, oh, I'm going all in or anything crazy like that. But if you build the command center on the low ground, if you don't SCV scout, if you don't get a bunker, this could be like an auto loss. They basically take over the bottom of your natural ramp. You can never finish the command center. You start to cry your hot, sweaty Terran tears, and maybe one day move on with your life. But not only does he make the safe play right, the command center's on the high ground, but he's doubling down, Wardy. We have a third command center tucked in the back, and if PartinG knew about this, I think we'd see a big switch up in what he's going for very quickly.
He's going for 3 gateways, right? So he is going to have the units. If he tests the water going up that ramp and there's just no units there and he takes down a depot, like, he's just going to have access to a main base, which once again has no defense. I kind of loved it for INnoVation up until I saw the third CC, and I can still believe in the third CC. The scout is huge because now he gets a bunker. As long as he holds the ramp, the third CC is amazing, right? But that's the threat. If you don't hold the ramp, and that's what the third CC will, make more difficult, because typically you don't have as many units because you're building the command center. But now with the bunker up, I actually love this for INnoVation because his economy is going to be phenomenal. The only issue will be actually getting down to his natural might take a little while, especially with this amount of units, and that might actually give PartinG a bit of a better chance in all of this, because if he can stop INnoVation actually expanding, there is a hard cap on how many SCVs are being useful for INnoVation.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky, right? Is trying to siege up that spot the correct play when INnoVation, despite this, quote-unquote greedy build, he's going for a very fast +1 attack and stim. So maybe he won't have as many units, but oh my god, hold the phone. He's just going to try to push the ramp anyway. Kills the bunker. SCV's not pulled in time. INnoVation perhaps underestimating a little bit of PartinG's firepower. As you were saying, with 3 gateways, he can get out quite a few units. And hey, if the SCVs want to repair this forever, that's fine, because he can kill those too.
Yeah, this is exactly what PartinG wanted. He's going to take down the reactor. He can reinforce with Stalkers. There's one Marauder on the way, but this is otherwise just slow Marines that can obviously be kited by Stalkers for days. I love the couple of Adepts as well. They will tank a good bit of damage, and the SCVs that have fallen are absolutely massive. And at this point, INnoVation supply is already trailing heavily. And there's just the fact that obviously, yeah, you've got a third CC to rebuild with, but man, is it going to save you from this amount of damage? 11 SCVs down. PartinG can very comfortably expand behind this if he wants to. He is still fighting here, by the way. There's just going to be no units left from INnoVation in a moment. And PartinG is up in the main base, Nathanius, and I think he might have just won the game right here and right now.
All because the SCVs weren't pulled to that first bunker fast enough to save it. And Wardy, I think we're both very aware of the 3 orbitals in a dream meme, but I don't know. This starts to look a little more like a Nightmare on Elm Street type dream for INnoVation. Yeah. You're looking at 18 supply to 52. I'm not good at maths, but I do believe that that's quite a large difference in terms of the supply, in terms of what they have available. So now, yes, that bunker's finally there. The other barracks gets moved to help block this, but you've lost your supply depot. You've lost a ton of workers. Even if you rebuild them, that's just money from your main base you're never going to get back that you had to spend rebuilding your main base.
The problem is, it's not just an SCV difference, right? It's also the army supply. You lost your army as INnoVation. It's a completely different scenario if this army can go across the map and counterattack, because PartinG is low tech. He's only on gateway units. You don't actually have a lot from PartinG to defend and attack. Doesn't matter, because he cleaned the army out. So even with the upgrade disadvantage, I still think PartinG will be fine defensively, and that just means that, INnoVation, yeah, you can try and play catch-up on SCVs. 3CC will, of course, help, but PartinG's economy is still going to be perfectly fine as well, and yeah, this should just be a done deal. Hopefully PartinG doesn't build 16 gateways and try to flood units, because that might be one way he loses this. I would much rather prefer to see some tech. As Marauder stim down, the force field is good, and once again, PartinG's win a fight. There is the tech on the way as well. The Robo Bay coming through. I love what PartinG is doing to follow this up.
Yeah, and this is exactly how you do it. Are Stim Marines overpowered? Yes, but sentries on the bottom of a ramp may be one of the few things that can deal with them. Not only is he shaving away again at that army, but he's, as you called earlier, he's just not letting him take his natural. And now he says, okay, I've got enough units to walk up this ramp. Force fields from the Marines. They cannot retreat, and GG is called. PartinG goes up 2-1. Wardy, we may not get that long slugfest of a game, because we've got 2 players that are just absolutely bullying each other.
And INnoVation wanted it, right? INnoVation wanted to go long. He put 3 CCs down. Honestly, with the bunker, I loved it for INnoVation, but you can't let the bunker die, otherwise it comes right back to the point I was making, that you can't really defend with how this is going. Like, if you don't actually have a defensive structure there, PartinG will just break you down. You don't have any units. With the bunker, it's fine. The bunker going down, it wasn't. And all of a sudden, PartinG is on match point. It was being a fast and furious series.
And this is this makes me think back to one of my favorite questions that people have asked in StarCraft. And this one was, I think this was a really fun one around the time that we were seeing all those Alpha Star matches and whatnot with the AI playing the game. But people would say, well, what about it? What about this? Why would the AI just walk up ramps even though it doesn't know what's up there? And the thing is, if you have an idea, if you have a feel for the game state, for the game scenario, a Terran player with a bunker on top of their ramp is oftentimes going to think, yeah, I'm totally fine, right? Like, this is probably more defense than I really need. I could probably get away without it. but you build that bunker and then you kind of set it in the back of your mind. But a Protoss like PartinG thinks to himself, I think I have enough. You play enough games, you know how much you need to DPS that bunker down if there's no SCVs there. And INnoVation didn't leave any SCVs there. It was just a very well calculated, risky decision by PartinG, but it pays off with a Game 3 win.
May as well try as well, right? If you've already got so many of the units, I feel like if you don't give it a go, you probably, even if you try, right, and he does pull SCVs, you probably get a few SCV kills, then you trade in units for SCVs, but at least you're getting something out of this investment. It might not be what you wanted, but it can still be more than you'd get otherwise. So, yeah, no, I like every part of the decision from PartinG. Now he takes a lead in this series. Yeah, this early game, this is the thing about PartinG. You expect this stuff from him, right? INnoVation knows that this is how PartinG likes to play, but PartinG is so good at it that he can still bring it and have success.
Yeah. And what's really, really crazy about this is, if we have a time machine and we just go back to right before the Stalkers go up the ramp, if INnoVation leaves like 2, maybe 3 SCVs by the bunker or on hold position with auto repair, something right next to it, that doesn't work, right? It completely fails. Maybe he focuses the SCVs, but more would come by the time the bunker actually starts taking damage, and then everything looks completely different. Small things, every little tiny thing matters so much when you're playing at the top of the ladder. It's big. It's just absolutely wild to see how thin of a margin these guys are able to capitalize on each other's mistakes.
As we go onto Pillars of Gold for map number 4, in the bottom left-hand side, we're going to see the 12 pylon out of PartinG.
And his opponent in the northeast position, spawning as the red Terran player from Kaizu Gaming, he is INnoVation.
All right, mate. You know what I think we might have here?
Talk to me.
I'm going to say we might see some proxy Stargate Void reaction.
Oh, you're filthy. You're filthy. Filthy, Wardy. This was one of the things I was actually looking forward to seeing the most when this tournament started, because there is something that I have always had as a deep guilty pleasure, and that is watching dank Protoss cheese in tournaments win games. It's frustrating for everybody involved, including the person executing it, right? But man, they also just turn into such clown fiestas of games. I've been wanting that. I tried not to say it prior to you bringing it up right now, but I was hoping that we would get some proxy void ray shenanigans out of PartinG. You're up a map in the series. It's one of the strongest builds that you can break out if you want to go for some sort of cheese. Any real, if you want to all in or be crazy aggro, it's a good way to do it. Did he really not?
He didn't. It just missed each other, I think. What a horrible setup. I mean, obviously, you're still coming across the map early as INnoVation, so you will still get a bit of a heads up to do something about it. Now, this map as well just makes sense to do this build on, right? Easy access to the sides. There's the first cell that will come across the map and pressure, and INnoVation, he's going to be feeling pretty sad that his natural command center for once is on the low ground.
Yes, if you see this with your scouting SCV ever, if you run into your opponent's natural at the 1 minute 40-second mark and there's a zealot running out and there's nothing else there, the alarm bells should be going off. INnoVation, he wasn't born last night. He knows this build ain't right. He comes down, he sees with the Reaper, he knows what's going on, but here comes the ultimate question. Does he have what he needs to deal with it? You can build one Marine at a time. He spent a bunch of production time on the Reaper, but now, I mean, short of pulling workers or something onto this, there's not really much in the way of stopping this from at least getting set up, and that Zealot is going to complicate things a little bit too now, delaying the barracks and the bunker and possibly the command center.
Yeah, I wonder if you get the bunker on the natural, right, then there is still some, this is nice, 2 SCV kills, 3 in total. I mean, obviously the bunker on the natural gets me interested because now you maybe can't do as much from the natural, but do you need to do as much from the natural as PartinG? I don't think so, because the whole point is you're going to get in position to deny this barracks at the front already. And obviously INnoVation figuring out pretty quickly lets him set up elsewhere. The factory is quite far back, etc. Now the Adept shades in, and the Void's going to go over there too.
This is one of the hardest things about dealing with this build. The command center's not done. Well, good luck getting an SCV down there now, but what I was going to say is the control of the ramp here is huge. Did he build a bunker by the command center? Yes, great, grand, wonderful. But both of your depots and your barracks are right there, man. What are you going to do? You're going to try to defend this with Cyclones, the unit that is not going to be able, like, I mean, barring a worst case scenario for PartinG, the Cyclones aren't going to be the game-ending type of army that you're trying to put together for this situation, so you're making a big investment into a tech path just to defend this specific push. Another SCV denied! He's like, just let me get the wrapping off. I need the supply. 15 supply. Free up that 15 supply, baby. Nope, not gonna happen.
PartinG should just go Phoenix now as well. He makes one more Void Ray. I actually just like the Phoenix because the Phoenix can lift up the Cyclone, just take it out of the equation, right? And he's actually going to get in range there. If you pop Prismatic, that might have been a dead Cyclone, to be honest. Now this Void Ray needs to be careful. Again, the SCV gets denied. Can we just get Prismatic and not center?
He's bullying him. Someone call the principal. Where's the admin? Is this legal? Another one.
Oh,
ladies and gentlemen,
no.
this is like, it's, you know, this is like you're walking through the desert. You're so thirsty. You're so thirsty.
No.
And you get a bottle of water, and guess what, Wardy? It's got an 8.
Surely.
It's got a keypad. It's got a keypad on it.
He did it.
Finally, after 1,000 guesses, he's able to open that bottle of water and get that little bit of supply out. But oh, is it a little too? Well, the barracks is dead now. He can't actually build another factory. He tried to, but he got delayed because he lost the prerequisite tech. So maybe he was going to try to go double Cyclone or something after that. But the options here are very slim. Now, Magfield Cyclones, I think, can deal with the Void Rays pretty decently. But the real question becomes how does he bounce this back quickly onto getting some pressure back on the other side of the map? That's going to be a big question mark because he still needs to dislodge what's outside of his base.
I can't believe he lost 7 SCVs trying to finish the command center. That's like 71 out of 71. That's unbelievable. I love PartinG's follow-up, right? You're just going to go Blink Stalkers and a lot of them. The Cyclones, obviously, you're going to keep building them. Cyclones trade well against Blink Stalkers with the Magfield, don't get me wrong. Just keeps one alive and kills the Void Ray. That's nice. But the problem is, if you get enough Stalkers, they will just blink on top of the Cyclones, and then the Cyclones are going to die way before they're going to get any Stalker kills. And that is exactly what PartinG is aiming for here. Of course, PartinG has his own expansion up behind this, so he's on a worker lead. The game gets into a weird kind of situation, and the real benefit for PartinG is he's just going to be on better tech much sooner. Inno is going to go a second factory again. He's committed to this idea of mass Cyclone and, I guess, mech.
I think he's recognized that getting up Stim fast enough to deal with a Blink follow-up, which I would be worried about if I was, being forced to build Cyclones. He's probably thinking that he needs tanks more than anything right now. So getting the second factory will allow him to at least maybe get some mines to give the soft anti-air a little bit of cover for his units. But he needs the anchor for the Cyclones more than anything else. If you get enough tanks to ward the Stalkers away, then you can kind of play around with the Cyclones. Maybe you still want to go into bio really late, but making this decision for the second factory early, I do like, because you can't really leave your base with just tanks, and you're very far away from Stim. You don't have the money to build all that stuff, so this is just one of those very awkward situations. You're not going to read about this build from INnoVation in books, guys. This is purely a master attempting to flex this game back. But there's the blink you were talking about, Wardy. Cyclones, they are a little bit quick, but they have very few HP. They have very little hit points, so they die super fast.
Yep, and that's going to be all 4 of them going down, right? So that's every Cyclone just falling. INnoVation. The good news is that PartinG has no way to reinforce across the map super quickly. There's a pylon here. I didn't know that, but even with the pylon without the gateway just yet, I guess it's going to be a little bit. Man, he's got the Void Ray for high ground vision. The tanks are such a good call. Like you said, you need something to keep these Stalkers off. Honestly, it was getting to the point where if INnoVation was able to hold off these Stalkers, I kind of like it a bit for him, but I'm still not convinced that's actually going to happen. But why is there against the Void?
I was going to say, I think the biggest weakness of this setup is that the Cyclones are dead, but the Stalkers are going to be able to force the issue over at the bunker in the natural, picks off one of the siege tanks, and if those Marines actually die, then the Void Ray can just kill everything, right? 2 Cyclones are close to finishing, but if he gets even just one of those tanks, the one on the ramp, then that natural expansion becomes wide open.
The main base is just wide open, right? Yeah, there's a siege tank there, but you're going to jump on top of that pretty much right away, so that's going to go down, then you can move to the right-hand side out of range of the other tank. Couple Cyclones showing up. When the Stalkers get their blink back, I imagine they're going to die. He really is taking care of the Void Ray because that's his high ground vision. If he loses it, he's losing a lot of Stalkers here, but again, the reset on the Cyclones. Okay, that's a lot of Stalkers lost though, Nate.
Yeah, he committed to building a few shield batteries there. Didn't really try to blink the stalkers towards them. I thought that was going to be the play. Losing this many stalkers is pretty rough, but he may have still set himself up to the point where... Yeah. Goodbye, El Tanko Tasicho. We knew you.
That's it.
Little PartinG with the 3-1, and this is exactly the kind of insanity